What's good, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Hope everybody is having themselves a day. This is going to be episode 3 where I take you guys through every step to making an attention-grabbing nightclub after movie / party video or recap. I completely understand how difficult it can be to turn around these sorts of videos in 48 to 24 hours. It's definitely not easy, but with that being said, in today's short episode, I'll be talking about the workflow and Premiere Pro setup to make this process way easier. And then once you get your reps in with this, you can breeze past 80% of videographers and photographers with just your turnaround times alone. Now, the process usually starts the night that I get back from a gig, whether it's 1, 2, or 3 a.m. I'll take the SD card out of my camera, throw it into my computer, and quickly organize all of the footage using the dummy folder template I talked about in the last video. And in the 5 to 10 minutes that the files are downloading onto my computer, I'm taking that time and charging my camera batteries, making sure my lenses are clean, putting everything away nice and neat so that I'm ready again to shoot the following day. And once that's complete, we can jump into Premiere Pro and get it organized to start working. Dope. Now that we're in Premiere Pro, we're going to create a bunch of bins by right-clicking, and we're going to name it footage, sequences, music, anything that doesn't belong in those, extra. Once we have these 4 main folders set up, we can jump inside the sequences folder, create a new sequence by clicking on that little page below. I'm going to call this original. So I just call that org. Then we are going to duplicate that, org, copy. We can duplicate that once again because they're going to be all the same settings. And once we do that, we can call this the final. Having your sequences in a separate folder is going to save you a lot of time, especially if you're in the beginner phases. I know I was losing sequences all the time and I'd be like, where the fuck did my timeline go? This saved me big time. Now we're going to open up all of these sequences so you can see that I just did that here. This is the original, this is the original copy, and that's the final. We can jump back to the main page where all of our 4 folders are. Now what we can do is navigate to the footage that we need for this project, which is going to be hospitality footage, A7s III, video. You can find all of that right here. Copy that. Now we have all the files we're going to be utilizing inside of our footage folder, so we shouldn't be losing them at any point. I'm going to drag all of this footage onto the original timeline, keep existing settings, and basically from this point what I'll do is I'll start chopping away at all of the footage. Once this is done, you're left behind with only the absolute best parts, which is super crucial for the next step. I'm usually doing this chopping up part that same night that I got home, so that when I wake up the following day, I'm ready to start the final timeline. Doing it this way eliminates like 50% of the work in my head so that when I wake up the next day, I'm motivated to actually get started on it. Now that we've got all the footage chopped up, it looks to be about 13 minutes worth of footage. Now what I like to do is move the original below the final timeline. Then we add the song to the timeline from the music bin, throw it in there, drag it on here so you never lose track of it. We can mute audio layer 1. If I decide to use this one, for example, it's gonna go right there. This is muted in case I ever need to use the audio again. I still have access to it instead of having to unlink it and just delete it from existence. This setup with a timeline below and a timeline above is called a Pancake Timeline, and it's honestly my preferred way to edit. Now that I have my Pancake Timeline entirely set up, I would go back down to my original, close the gaps with all of the highlight moments of the night down on the original timeline. What I can easily do now is click Command X, cut the clip, and then paste it onto the final timeline. That way it gets rid of the clip down here as well, or you can just drag the clip, but the reason I don't do that is because then the clip stays here and there, so then you might end up using the same clip twice in your edit because you didn't realize that you removed it from the original timeline. I just cut out all of those clips in real time, but for this case scenario, we're going to jump into a project where I've already cut the clips and placed them where they need to go to explain this part further. As you can see in this project, I have the original and final timeline, but for the case of this, we're just going to close it because we're just going to be looking at the final timeline. While we let this play in the background, I want to talk about finding the correct clip and why this is the most time-consuming part. This is because there's a lot of variables I take into consideration when finding the perfect clip to put in that part of the edit. We got to think about the overall story that you're trying to tell, the pacing of the song. Are you going to edit to the beat of the song? Which instrument are you going to edit to? The transitions you did throughout the night, the pans left to right, the motion blur. You got to also look at speed ramping, framing and continuity, and lastly, shot variety to make sure the video isn't getting boring. Those are all all important factors into making a banger video. So if you stick around, I'll be discussing every single one of those variables in the upcoming episodes. But with that being said, I'm gonna wrap up the video here. If you guys enjoyed episode 3, make sure to check out the next ones right here. And in episode 4, we're gonna talk about creating an engaging story that's gonna get your viewer to stop scrolling and watch your video all the way to the end. Anyway, I'll catch you guys in the next video, Thursday, 11 a.m. AST. Peace.